Okay, so this video is going to be rebuilding 4 hydraulic cylinders on this Do-All 105 loader. This is on a Case IH255. That's the tractor model. And again, the loader is a Do-All. Some folks want to pronounce it dual, but it's kind of funny how they spell it and pronounce it. So anyhow, all 4 cylinders are leaking. You got the lift cylinder on this side, identical one on the other side, and then these bucket cylinders, they're both leaking as well. I've got the bucket propped up just in an effort to get some pans under there because these things are leaking so bad. So I already did order the seal kits, so I've got those in hand, and the numbers that I used to get those seal kits were the model number down here is a model 105, and Do-All apparently was bought out by Woods. So we were looking for Do-All cylinders, and Woods kept coming up. So the cylinder numbers here, it's hard to read that sticker, but it's a 30227, and the sticker on this cylinder over here is a 30228. So that's what we're going to be doing. The Google search leads us to Domestics. You go to their online parts, you select Woods, and then you select the Do-All 105 loader parts diagram, select cylinders. I mean, it's pretty extensive little website here. And then it gives like diagrams on the cylinders themselves and part numbers and stuff. Well, you come down here and you can see seal kit for 30228 cylinder. Remember, that was the front, the curl cylinders, and seal kit for 30227 cylinder. Those are the lift cylinders. So they got them in stock. We actually did this Saturday. Today is Thursday. We ordered them Saturday and they came yesterday. Okay, so here's an update I don't really want to make. I can't get the caps unthreaded off these hydraulic cylinders because my pipe wrench teeth are, I'm putting so much pressure on it, just flattening those teeth. The bottom of the jaw there is just spinning. The top still wants to bite, but this must be a little softer metal here. So I guess I'm getting what I paid for on this generic, no name 18-inch pipe wrench. I put 4 or 5 feet of pipe on it, and that's what it's doing to the teeth, so I'm going to have to round up a little better pipe wrench. Okay, so there's my little no-name 18-inch where I'm flattening the jaws, the teeth on the jaws. There's a 36-inch rigid that I went and picked up from, it's actually my buddy who owns a tractor. Ran over to his place and picked that up. So we're going to see how this one holds up and how well it does against these cylinders. Well, here you go, boys and girls. You can see that sucker is turning. I didn't even have to put a pipe on the end of this thing, just really heaved on it. And I guess you get what you pay for sometimes, or you got to have the right tool for the job. But 36-inch rigid pipe wrench sure beat my 18-inch no-name. Okay, so you can see that cylinder's out. What I did was, you saw me break the nut, the cap loose. After I broke it loose, just a few turns just to make sure it wasn't super tight, I pulled out, I disconnected. There's just 2 hydraulic lines on here. Just disconnect them, let them dangle. It makes a little bit of a mess. They just dribble out a little bit. And then take the bolt out here. There's a nut and a bolt that hold this pin in. So that pin goes through, holds the cylinder in, and then it's bolted on right here. So you take that little bolt out, pull the pin out, and then that frees that side. You do the same thing up there. And essentially then I've just brought it over here, used another small pipe wrench that I brought over from my buddy's house. I got 2 of them from him. Used that just to take that nut the rest of the way off. And then I'm sliding the cylinder apart, and I'll have it apart here in just a second. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it comes out. You slide that rod, just pull it out until it won't pull no further. And you kind of just slap it all out. It wants to hang up there at the end. So you just kind of, jerk that rod, release a little bit, and then slap it again. It almost works like a slide hammer, and it pulls that all out. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to put this end in the vise, and I'm going to break that nut off of there. Broke the nut loose, actually stuck it back up in the tractor. It was really on there tight, so I stuck it back up in here, ran a pin in, and then I put my wrench on down here again and broke it loose. Brought it back over here to the vise and threaded it all the way off. So that's the sequence that they came off in. Now this thing here, it's got some like bushings pushed into it. So essentially I'm just going to take what's in the kit, match it up to what's on here, and stick it back together. There's a scraper seal that goes in here. Scraped all the junk out. That was just like crunchy, chunky little pieces that came out of there. Put the new one back in that. This got a new O-ring on the outside, and I don't know what the hell you call that stuff on the inside. So anyhow, 2 pieces there, and then this is like a big thick O-ring with like a, I don't know, some kind of whitish on the inside. Anyhow, that popped off and there's no ring inside there. So we're going to put all that stuff in order that it was on the shaft and then cram it back in there. Okay, so here's the update. We got all the parts slid back in there and stuck the cylinder back up on the tractor, and we're just now, we put in the that pin there that goes all the way through, and then that bolt captures it, and it's got a nut on the back side. And we're going to do the same thing down here. We're just you know, kind of hand tightening this stuff. This nut is hand tight in the vise, so we still need to put the big pipe wrench on it and crank that down. So we're going to crank that down hard as we want, and then attach the hydraulic lines. One goes here, and then the one goes there, and that'll be it. Okay, so we're moving on to the second cylinder. We got the first one put in. You know, we tightened everything up, and we went ahead and fired up the tractor. We just did a head job on that, and we did a head gasket on that one, and so we were able to run the engine and pick the loader up, and we kind of tilted that out to get access to this cylinder. And all we did so far, essentially, we broke this big nut loose on that cylinder, this cylinder, and this one with the big pipe wrench while we got it out. So all these are loose now, and there's a bolt and a pin down here again, similar to the first cylinder. The pin goes through, and it's held, you know, in with a bolt and a nut. Down here, same thing up here. The pin actually is held in with a cotter key up here, so just a regular cotter key. And then you got your hydraulic line comes down to here for the bottom, and a hydraulic line up here for the top. So we got the cylinder off of there. We got it over here at the vise, and because we'd already broken this loose with the big wrench, we're able to use a little wrench and finish it up and spin it off. It slides off, and now we're taking this shaft and pulling out on it. You kind of use the shaft as a slide hammer, and it'll knock this, I don't even know what the hell thing's called, but you just pop that and then kind of work it till it comes out. Now we're going to take this nut off, so we're going to put this back in the tractor. So we'll put it back in, put the pin through, and then use the wrench to take this nut off. Okay, so what I'm doing here is we dug off the old, I don't even know what the hell you call this, but to get it back up on here, it's pretty tight. That this inside, you know, I don't know if that's a harder material or what. So you kind of set it in there, set it up like I got it here. You know, you kind of put the rubber down there, make sure you're not pinched in here, and then put it in the vise. And then this is the way that O-ring, he's dug the old one out, and he's putting the new one in now. And you just kind of manipulate it around in there. And just play with it and it'll pop in. And okay, so he's got that. So that's how you do that O-ring on the inside of that thing. And then you saw me with the thing in the vise, and I think my camera died, but we were popping, you pop the old one off, and then you just slide the new one on there with your screwdriver or whatever. So that's how you do that part of it. Okay, so now this other, I don't even know what the hell you call it. This goes on. You slide the cap back on. The cap's got a, pretty self-explanatory, the cap's got a little scraper seal down in there. So we've already put that in. Slide the cap on, and then now what he's working on here, he's put the new O-ring on the outside of that thing. And then this is like a two-part little deal here. You got to be careful. This has got a groove in it. You want that groove to go down. That groove is toward the pressure side of the cylinder. So it's kind of hard to work in there, but that goes in and it sits down about 1/8 of an inch, and then you put this little washer thing on top of that, and then you slide the whole assembly on the shaft, and it does not have an O-ring on the inside of it, not on that thing. So that slides on, then he's going to put this thing on. Now when you set that on, you got to be careful, there's an O-ring in there and you're pushing it up against threads, but what we'll end up doing, and I'm going to turn the camera off to do it, we use this socket on an extension, just like you know, kind of set it up there and tap it with a hammer, and you want to make sure everything's lubed up when you're doing this real good. So I'll beat on the end of this and we'll drive that on kind of as gently as possible, because essentially you're driving that O-ring up against that shoulder and those threads. So you want to be careful you don't bugger up the O-ring. So we're going to do that next, and then we'll put on the nut, and that'll be the that'll be that part of it. I'll show you in a minute. You know, he's going to get it pretty snug here, and then we'll put it on the tractor. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, bringing it back over to the tractor and tightening it up. Go ahead and use the pin that it belongs to, and you know, you use that bucket then for leverage, and because your bucket or your frame or whatever is going to hold a lot more pressure than that vise will. And then he's just going to put the pipe wrench on here and torque it down, and these are really, really tight. So got a good bunch of leverage there, and that's good and tight now, and we're going to slide that whole assembly then back into that cylinder sleeve. Okay, so we made our connections here. We got the pin in, we got the cotter key on, we got that hydraulic line, we've got made sure our grease fitting is pointed out, you know, because these spin around, you know, that shaft spins 180 degrees. So we got that in, we got our pin in, and then there's that retaining bolt that holds the pin in. And the last step in the process is just torquing that down to put, you know, heavy duty pressure on it. So just using a big pipe wrench to do it, and it's a 36-inch pipe wrench, and there's a lot of pressure on these things. So that's the kind of pressure that your bench vise is not going to handle. Yours might, but I don't want to put mine through the pressure. So that's why you put it back on the tractor when you do that final torque. And that is it. I mean, essentially, you pretty well solved these two cylinders. The other side is the same thing. So we'll start the tractor up, and it's going to lose some fluid, you know, to these cylinders. So we're going to have to up and down, and you'll notice your hydraulic fluid level is going to go down. So keep an eye on that. Don't run your pump dry. But these things will purge themselves, so you don't have to bleed them or anything like that. That is it. Good luck, guys. If you have any comments or questions or anything, leave them below, and we'll do what we can to try to help you out.